India dominates the game of cricket not only on the field but off the field as well. The BCCI, or the National Governing Body of Cricket in India, is the richest cricket board in the world. While the International Cricket Council, or ICC, has 108 member country boards, BCCI alone generates 70% of the revenue for ICC. And of over 1 billion cricket fans in the world, India constitutes more than 90%. Cricket following seems to be exploding every year, and a great example of this is the IPL. Starting from almost nothing in 2008, each game of the IPL was worth $13.4 million in 2022, behind only the NFL, or National Football League. So now you may be wondering, how is cricket becoming so exponentially popular? Why does BCCI make so much more money than any other cricket board in the world? And why do Indians love cricket so much? Well, to understand this, we need to go back a few decades into our history. While the exact origins are unclear, most people believe that cricket originated in 13th century England. And the game started gaining popularity as a sport towards the end of the 16th century in England. The game evolved over the next 2 centuries, and by 1788, the first official laws of cricket were drafted and maintained by the Marylebone Cricket Club in London. And similar to how golf is associated with the elite today, cricket was always thought of as a gentleman's game throughout the 1800s, always being played by the British elite in India. In order to match the prestige of the British and the honor attached to the game, the Indian elite before the independence also started playing the game, which included rulers of the princely states and rich businessmen. Ranjit Singh Ji and the Nawab of Pataudi, the father of Saif Ali Khan, were some of the princely state rulers who were also part of the Indian cricket team. So a sense of eliteness and honor was attached to the game, both by the ruling Britons as well as the elite public of India that survived the colonial rule. No other sport received such a high level patronage in India. And post-independence, cricket became even more important as it served as a unifying force in a diverse and otherwise fragmented nation. The Indian cricket team continued to grow from strength to strength over the next decades, even beating the mighty West Indies as the underdogs in the 1983 ICC World Cup. Winning the World Cup was a turning point in the history of cricket in India, as the win inspired millions of young kids, which set the talent factory of our country in motion. But what you may find quite surprising is that when India won in 1983, the BCCI did not even have enough funds to reward the members of the team. Lata Mangeshkar had done a concert in Delhi, and the funds collected from the ticket sales were used to pay the team. And each of the 14 members got rupees 1 lakh each. Now, you might be thinking, how can the BCCI, one of the richest sports organizations in the world today, be so poor that they could not afford a sum of even 14 lakh rupees? Well, that is because the situation used to be quite different than what it is today. See, the reason why sports churn so much money is very simple. The viewership brings in money, and by the way, this is also the reason why usually women in sports get paid less than men in sports. The viewership is simply not equivalent. So money comes through people at the gates buying tickets, broadcasting rights sold to channels, and sponsorship by brands looking to advertise. Since the 1920s, you could only listen to the live commentary of the match on the All India Radio, with that being the only source of live cricket updates for the next 50 years or so. Things actually started changing when television started becoming popular in India in the late 1970s. And the real shift from radio to television actually started in the early 1980s. But even then, it was very scattered, and more importantly, it was not commercialized. As late as the 1990s, the BCCI had to pay Doordarshan to show the national team's matches. This was at a time when Doordarshan was the only channel that you could watch on TV, so it had a virtual monopoly. But the situation began to shift when private satellite channels entered the market. And the turning point came when the BCCI was able to sell the broadcasting rights to the 1996 Cricket World Cup for the very first time. And it has never looked back since then. With the liberalization of the Indian economy in the 1990s, color televisions and satellite TVs started becoming more and more popular. And soon enough, BCCI realized that people were ready to pay to watch these games on TV, and that broadcasting rights were far more valuable than they realized. Sponsorship deals also followed, while viewing a cricket match also suddenly became a lot easier. This in turn made the sport even more popular and accessible among Indian kids, and the talent factory was set in motion. What really helped was the captaincy era of Sourav Ganguly as well. Sourav Dada made his test debut in 1996 at the home of cricket, the Lord's Stadium in England, scoring a century in his very first innings. He was appointed the captain in 2000 after Mohammad Azharuddin was removed because of the match fixing scandal that had surfaced back then. Dada's captaincy saw a significant shift in the attitude as well as the aggression of the team, which saw several firsts for the Indian cricket team, including the first win in a test series on Pakistani soil in 2004, first win in West Indies after 35 years in 2002, the first time an Indian captain took off his shirt after his team had won against England, and a much more improved overseas record, as he backed young and aggressive players like Sehwag, Yuvraj, Zaheer Khan and Harbhajan Singh. Winning always helped increase the fan base, so the more we won, the more popular cricket became. But the actual turning point for BCCI and cricket in India in general actually came in 2008 with the advent of IPL. Up until 2003, there were only two formats, Test cricket and ODIs. However, the problem with these formats was that the matches were way longer than other sports. Where a typical football match offered the perfect evening entertainment within 2 hours, ODI cricket required a commitment of almost an entire day, while test matches were even longer at 5 days. So the sales of tickets and viewership of these matches, and consequently the income from them, was lower than other sports. Recognizing that this was why cricket was struggling to compete with sports like football or basketball, England, the inventor of cricket, went back to the drawing board. And they came up with the idea of T20 cricket matches in 2003. It was the ideal setup. Within a short span of 3 hours, you got an action-packed entertainment experience for the evening. People could come in after work, watch a match, and still be in bed for the night on time. The format was obviously a success and eventually resulted in the first edition of the T20 World Cup that happened in 2007. India happened to win that first edition, and suddenly Indians were in love with the format. This was when Lalit Modi, the vice president of the BCCI, pitched the idea that would change the world of cricket forever, the Indian Premier League. The IPL started in 2008 with just 8 teams, with the Mumbai Indians franchise fetching the highest prize of about $112 million bought by the Ambanis. Fast forward to 2022, and the value of a single franchise now exceeds the total price paid for all 8 original teams in the first auction that was held in 2008. The 2022 edition of the IPL brought BCCI rupees 800 crores in revenue. While DLF paid about 40 crores per year to be the title sponsor of IPL from 2008 to 2012, the 2022 and 2023 seasons earned the BCCI about 500 crore rupees per year just from the title sponsorship that was done by Vivo and Tata. That is an increase of more than 12 times. But the biggest earning so far for BCCI has been the broadcasting rights, which was sold for $6.2 billion for the 2023 to 2027 period. So now you might be wondering, how did IPL manage to become so popular in such a short period of time? Well, it was actually a combination of a bunch of factors. As I said, with the advent of televised broadcasting, cricket was already becoming more and more popular in India. But with the T20 format, cricket managed to become the perfect mode of entertainment for a hungry Indian audience. See, cricket always had a very ad-friendly format. No sport has as many breaks as cricket, and with every break comes an ad that generates money. Between overs, when a wicket falls, between innings, cricket is tailor-made for ads. And then you can have logos on the fields, sidelines, and scoreboard as well. The only problem was the long commitment of a full day or 5 days that was required by the game, and that problem was finally solved by the T20 format. So the advertising industry and the fans started feeding off each other. More money makes it more popular, and more popularity brings in more money. And a genius twist that was given to the IPL was turning it into an event of entertainment rather than a game of sport. As I mentioned earlier, traditionally, cricket used to be a sport of the elite class. A reserved, well-mannered game played by the rules and watched patiently by the spectators. But the IPL brought in the Indian twist in the game. a city-based franchise model for a healthy competitive spirit, high-profile auctions, and the integration of Bollywood stars and performances. These factors turned it into the perfect 3 to 4 hours of entertainment. The result is that it is now one of the most popular league games in the world, and its brand value was over $11 billion in 2022. The pockets run so deep in the IPL that it actually interferes with any other tournaments that take place during that time. Where the West Indies Cricket Board has sometimes struggled to pay the players even their yearly salaries, here was IPL paying them millions of dollars for just a few weeks of play. But interestingly, no Indian player can take part in other leagues unless they permanently retire from Indian cricket. The goal here is to prevent popular players from making other franchises attractive and giving competition to IPL in terms of viewership and brand value. So BCCI has already established a monopoly with the IPL, and with the sheer amount of money and power it has generated, they are likely to keep things this way for a very long time. And as I said, BCCI exercises power not only within India, but internationally in the ICC as well. As several reports have come up in the past, where other cricket boards and officials have accused BCCI of trying to influence the decisions of ICC. So you can expect the popularity and love for cricket in India to continue to grow. Moving forward, cricket is now trying to crack into one of the largest sports markets in the world, the United States of America. While the cost of an ad in the IPL playoffs is $90,000, for the Super Bowl, it is $7 million. There is big money in the US sports that is waiting to be tapped. The ad cost, the marketing cost, the ticket cost, everything is much higher in the US than anywhere else in the world. So the first edition of Major League Cricket, or MLC, concluded in July 2023, aiming to create a fan base in the US as well. And since the Indian IPL team owners have already seen their investment grow over 10 times in just a few years, they are way ahead this time with the MLC. 4 out of 6 teams are owned by IPL franchises, with teams like Los Angeles Knight Riders, Texas Super Kings, and Mumbai Indians New York. The T20 World Cup in 2024 will also be co-hosted by the West Indies and the US. And ICC is also looking to include cricket in the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. But while in the US, baseball has 53 million fans and basketball has 49 million fans, cricket has just 4 million fans as of now, many of which are Indian Americans. So there is still a long way to go. On the other hand, England is continuing its innovation with yet another format, the 100-ball game. This even shorter format aims to make cricket even simpler to follow and shorter to fit TV schedules. The changing of wickets happens at the end of 10 balls instead of 6 balls, and a bowler can either bowl 5 or 10 consecutive balls with a maximum of 20 balls per game. So if this format follows the path of T20 cricket, it will also be adopted internationally in the coming years, making cricket more fast-paced and action-packed than ever before. However, traditionalists argue that T20 prioritizes big hitting over the classic skills of cricket, while some also say that it is much more lucrative than the other formats. So there are concerns that this might affect and overshadow Test cricket in the coming years. Others also argue that T20 cricket heavily favors the batsman, making the game less balanced in nature. And while India doesn't allow it, other cricket boards are concerned that their players might start prioritizing these lucrative T20 leagues over their own country in the future. What are your thoughts on this debate and the concerns around T20? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to know more about this 100-ball cricket format, I have added a link in the description. Do check it out. And while you are there, follow me on LinkedIn as well. Please hit the like button on this video and share it with your fellow cricket fans. If you want to support me, please hit the subscribe button below. It will really help me increase the reach of this video. Let me know in the comments which story you want me to cover next. Until then, goodbye.